What's going on, people? Welcome to United Stand. Welcome to your Tuesday night show. KG's off in Hollywood filming. You know what he's like. He's filming for the second series of Ted Lasso. So big up KG. But Beth's
taking Hollywood.
He is. He's taking Hollywood, man. He is. He's taking Hollywood. But we got loads and loads to get into tonight. Sam Johnstone as a possible replacement for David De Gea. We're going to talk about that. David De Gea, touted to basically be leaving Manchester United in the summer, which we do know is on the cards. Apparently, West Ham are going to want best part of 20 million for him for a backup keeper. Dean Henderson being the number one keeper as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a Pogba situation, a Pogba update as well. We've had some updates from The Athletic there about a new contract for Pogba and what that may look like. Also, as well, I know we've spoken about it a lot. Or Mark has, especially on the shows before as well, but we're going to touch on Jadon Sancho as well and what that would look like. Whether you think it's... Look, I know people saying, how can it be PR spin because it's come from Germany? What I'm saying is that we've got to be careful at, if the owners are going to actually start trying to invest now, because, like we've been saying, we should have got Sancho last year. So are they just trying to appease the fans by getting to Jadon Sancho and a little bit on Martial as well, because he's back in training as well. So, Beth, how do you see it, man? Sam Johnstone from West Brom, don't get me wrong, decent keeper. 20 million back up to Henderson. Are you having that? Get rid of De Gea?
Well, it's a sticky subject because people want to keep De Gea because of the legacy he's had at the club and everything he's kind of done around Manchester United. But we've seen now, Ollie sees De Gea, he sees Henderson every day in training. Everyone's got their own opinion. But Ollie has decided that Henderson's going to take that number one spot since David went off. The way he kind of went about it was a bit questionable for a lot of people. If you're going to drop De Gea, you might as well just say you're going to drop De Gea rather than just waiting for him to kind of go away and have his baby. I thought that was a little bit strange the way he kind of did that. But Henderson's managed to keep the number one spot in the Premier League. And if he's going to take the number one spot in the future, you can't really be having your highest paid player at the club sat on the bench, can you? Which is what is going to be happening. So I do think this summer De Gea is going to leave. He's probably going to go and spend more time with his wife and his baby, because I think she lives in Spain as it is, doesn't she? And I think he's done everything he can for the club and he's been a great servant. But Dean Henderson's going to take over as that number one spot. And to be honest, I think Sam Johnstone as a second option keeper is a pretty good second option, because we've seen him for his West Brom this season. Yeah, sometimes if a keeper's in a lower, in a team that's looked towards the bottom of the table, towards relegation zone, they can automatically look better. We saw it with Ramsdale last year at Bournemouth, because they're constantly getting them shots at them because of the quality of the side that they're in. But he seems to have done really well. He's got just over 70% save rate, which is pretty good. And he's from our academy as well, which is always a nice touch. So I wouldn't mind him coming in as a second keeper for us whatsoever at all.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say to the people who say that maybe 20 million is too much for him, though? Do you worry about that, or do you think that is about right for a second keeper? And Sam Johnstone as well, with that competition with Dean Henderson, is he going to be happy to come and be on the bench at Manchester United? I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, do you think that he will be happy at basically playing second fiddle to Man United's number one, which will be Dean Henderson if David De Gea leaves?
It depends on what you want. Do you want to be a second keeper to Dean Henderson in a side that's challenging for the Premier League and going to be playing in Europe, and he's probably going to get Champions League football or European football of some sort? He's going to get FA Cup games. But at the same time, you are going to be on the bench, or would you rather be playing every single game in the Championship? It's what you kind of want. If you
move to another Prem team.
Yeah, that is an option. That is an option, but
because he is good, he is a good keeper.
Who's going to cough up 20 million apart from us? That's the thing. That we're probably the only team that's probably willing to pay that 80 million, because I do think it is a bit expensive for a second option keeper, but we know that is a red. Do you know what I mean? That could be a kind of a persuasion factor. You're going to be challenging for trophies. He could win a trophy. That's the difference. Like, if he would have been playing for United this season, possibly have the chance to win the Europa League trophy. That's a big thing for a player. And both Henderson and De Gea have played in that tournament, so they're both going to be lifting that trophy, knowing that they've played their part, and that could be him next year, if you know what I mean. If you go to a team like Everton or
Tottenham or somewhere like that, you're not really guaranteed to be up there trying to challenge for trophies, especially in the situation that, say, Tottenham are in at the moment. And I do think it would kind of suit him to go back to Manchester United. But if you want to be a first-team keeper, that's his choice. It depends what's going to happen. But then again, it could just be some kind of thing that's out in the media, because we know that we need a second keeper, obviously, if De Gea leaves. And they're probably just going to link us with most people, because that's what they do. Manchester United's name gets thrown in all the time. We see it constantly. So we've seen Tom Heaton's in the mix as well. I would not be surprised if that happened, to be honest. I feel like that, if anything, that's more likely than Sam Johnstone, because if you played in the Prem for the year first team, maybe you're going to want to do that again, but we'll just have to see. I'm a bit sad De Gea's leaving, to be honest. But
that's what I was going to get back to. I mean,
it's one of them.
Do you think it is? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you think it is a situation where it's like, well, we just have to accept that he's probably going to leave? Maybe not. Maybe he's not getting forced out. Maybe he wants to go all along. Maybe he decides the time is there. But, there was a situation where we were hearing that actually his camp was saying we don't know anything about like leaving. I don't. He said, I don't mind the competition. I like it, and I want to stay and fight for my place. Is that disrespectful to David De Gea, or should he? If he does want to stay, that's fine, but he should have to understand it. And obviously, what sort of shape would that put us in? Like, do we have to sell one of them?
I feel like you just cannot have a keeper. How much is he on a week? Like £375,000 a week.
A lot of money.
I don't feel like you can have him on the bench for a second season time. Let's be honest, Dean Henderson and David De Gea are both first team keepers. And to have two first team keepers really isn't a thing in the Premier League or in many teams, to have two of them. Don't get me wrong, Sam Johnstone's a very good option, and he could be first team for a lot of teams in the Prem. But David De Gea has been a top goalkeeper. He's won Premier League titles. Do you know what I mean? He's really, really up there. And I do think for a keeper of his quality that has done what he's done at the top level for years of his career, it would be slightly disrespectful for him to drop to the bench for another season. Because I think it'd just be better if he left, to be honest, and kind of went somewhere else and did first team, and it all ended on a happy note. I wouldn't like to see, do you know when the cameras, you're on Sky Sports and they zoom into De Gea's face and he's sat on the bench and he looks miserable.
Be like Donny, innit? Be him and Donny sat next to each other.
It's one of them. It's like, just add some tension. And I feel like it is like De Gea is kind of handing the baton over to Dean Henderson. It might be a bit early.
Do you think he will see it like that? Do you think he will see it like that?
Probably not. He probably feels a little bit disrespected, to be honest, because he's got years left and he could have left Manchester United numerous times. Like, do you remember when the fax machine broke at Real Madrid?
Edward would make sure of it, mate.
That could have happened then, and he stayed very, very loyal to us. Been a massive servant for the club. He's, I think, the only player left, apart from Phil Jones, that has won the Premier League with us. So do you know what? He does deserve some respect on his name. I am one of them people that does think if De Gea is leaving, then Dean Henderson does deserve the chance. He really does, especially this season's kind of established himself into the first team before the fans are back. But that is if De Gea is leaving. And I think the way that it's all happened, De Gea has been put to the Europa League, Henderson's came back to come into the Premier League side. I think the signs are saying that De Gea is going to leave and he's still playing football to keep his price up and kind of to keep some respect on his name. And he's going to probably win that Europa League trophy with us, hopefully. And then that's going to be it. And it's the end of an era, kind of, because we've all known De Gea to be like that man that always starts for us. He's won player of the season numerous times, I think, for us. And someone name is to be a club legend in some ways, or at least a club hero. And I do think he served the club extremely well, but there's a time and a place where it has to end. And for me, I would like to see Dean Henderson as first choice keeper. I know other people don't see it like that. I know Mark literally is praying for De Gea to stay in the first team. Like, some people have that loyalty to him and want him to stay, but it's a matter of opinion. Whose attributes do you like better, and who's going to have progression? Like, if we sold Henderson and he ended up going somewhere like Chelsea or Tottenham and doing really well for them, would you look back and regret that? I think you would, in a way. And I don't think they would have give Henderson that contract if he was going to just stay as a second choice for us for a couple of years. So I do think De Gea's time's up, and I just hope he goes to a decent club and play his first team football, and that's all I can really say about it.
He deserves to play first team football for sure. I think the club will definitely look at it like how you were saying, like we can't really let Henderson go to like another Premier League rival, do really well for them. He's our player. He come through the youth ranks. A lot of interesting people in the comments though saying, the cycling GK is back up. Get Ben Foster in. Someone said, what about Romero? Like you said, Tom Heaton is a cheaper option.
Do we really need a second keeper if we've got Romero?
Well, but Romero's going to leave.
Well, isn't it? That's
Romero's going to leave. Romero's going to leave.
Our keeper situations, don't we? We always end up being on bad terms with someone, and I think it's because we've got
we didn't let him go.
Too many.
We didn't let him go.
Yeah, we've got too many good keepers for a first place position, and the keeper situation is one that is least rotated out of the whole team. I would say one of the least rotated positions.
My question is this for you. Yeah, my question is this. How good, and for you guys at home in the free seats in the comments as well, how good do you want the backup keeper to be? So as we've seen with Sam Johnstone, he used to play for us before, didn't quite make it obviously, and then he's gone out and spread his wings and he's done really well at West Brom, proved he's a decent keeper. Or would you like someone maybe coming to the end of their career like a Ben Foster, a Tom Heaton, someone who maybe wouldn't mind being on the bench, but then again, I take that back, because someone like Ben Foster, he's just come back up with Watford to the Premier League. He's at the latter stages of his career. He's gonna want to play football. So we need to get that balance right. But what is Sam Johnstone gonna want to give up playing football week in, week out to come back to Man United? Some would say, "Are you crazy?" Of course he would. He's going to get a bigger contract. He's back at the club he wanted to be at, and if he believes he can outdo what's his face, Dean Henderson, then he would do that. Henderson. Then he would. But I don't know. It's just a decision that Sam Johnston's got to make, I suppose.
I think it's a really hard one if you're a keeper. It really is, because
not Joel Pereira. Sorry, they keep saying Joel Pereira. Like he hasn't even played any first team.
You might as well put Lee Grant in there if you're being honest. When is he going to get a turn? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, Joel Pereira's way frozen out of it.
I just think it's really hard to be a second keeper because you want to be playing football, but you're not quite at the level. But if you're at a top team like Manchester United, Chelsea, City, you've got to kind of still be a very good level. So it's hard, because I wouldn't want to be a very good keeper, which Sam Johnstone is, and be sat on the bench. Personally, I'd want to be playing football. But then teams like Manchester United, Chelsea, and the top teams can't afford to have a poor second keeper, because imagine if Henderson gets injured. It's a massive, massive position. And say if he got injured for months, like you're going to need someone to come in and
they
fill
do need
them
to
shoes.
be,
So they need to be decent. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't really care about this, because it's not to do with us. We just want the best for the club and the best kind of options. But at the same time, players aren't going to want to sit there on the bench like De Gea, who's got the career that he's had. He's just not going to want to do that. So it's a hard option. I can see us going for someone like Tom Heaton. That name's been flying around for a while, and I don't think he's the type that I'd mind sitting on the bench, like you said, coming to the end of his career. But he's still got a lot of games on his belt, and we know that he's a good keeper. So I couldn't imagine that happening. And I don't know. Obviously he's probably not going to get a chance yet, but there's a young keeper, Bishop, in the academy.
Bishop. Yeah.
He's coming up, isn't he? He probably won't get a chance yet. He might do the same kind of thing Henderson has done. But there's definitely options there. There's definitely options.
Yeah, there is. Chris Pankhurst says, De Gea has been disrespected. More likely Henderson would leave because he's ambitious. This Man United will ditch De Gea to Juve or PSG for free or a swap. And the Wabadabadoo says, we know what we have with De Gea. If Henderson flops, which is actually possible, we are effed. Henderson has done some mad stuff since he's back. I think, and that's the interesting thing about this, right, is that the jury's actually still being made up. Like, for me, how I see it is, I do like Henderson. I've got nothing against Henderson. There's loads of people saying get Ben Foster back. I mean, look, I don't know, he's actually lost his place.
To be fair.
Yeah, well, that definitely won't be allowed in the Premier League. But it would be great. I think he's got a great channel. I love Ben Foster. I think he's sick. What a legend. But I think obviously he's lost his place to Bachmann as well, who's done well at Watford. So he might not even be number one next year. So we'll see about that. But the thing for me with the Henderson De Gea thing is like, I don't look at Henderson and see a better keeper like now. Like, I don't look at him and De Gea and say like, he is 100% better than David De Gea. I see someone who's younger and has ability to develop maybe up to a De Gea level, or De Gea in his prime level. But I can understand like the longevity in the deal where like, okay, something's got to happen. We can't have, because you're right, we can't have David De Gea sitting there as a second keeper on 370 bags a week. You can't have that. We can't.
Exactly.
So something does need to give. But I do think that when someone just said there, back to what they were saying, that De Gea has been disrespected, I think he has a little bit. I think he's got enough credit in the bank to still be number one, but the circumstances haven't helped him because Henderson's ready to play first team football. So Man United have to make a choice now. So I get it.
The thing is, Flex, do you think De Gea's been up to his levels over like the past couple of years? Because
not the past couple of
don't.
years. Not the past
I
couple
don't,
of years.
and
I think
I
he
know
settled down this season though.
This season he's not necessarily done anything wrong. He's really, really not.
Yeah, he ain't done anything.
But I don't know why. I just prefer like some of his attributes. I'm not a fan of.
What is it?
Like,
Okay, so what is it? What is it? Because you prefer Dean Henderson. I know you.
I do prefer his attributes. Yeah, at the moment, I think they're very similar level keepers at the moment in form. Both of them. I think when Henderson wears that cap, I don't know what happens to him, to be honest. But he's not as good. And I do think they're very similar levels at the minute. But as you said, De Gea's gone downwards, not lows, but he has gone downwards from his prime, and Henderson's still young, so it's one of them. But what about De Gea that I don't really like, and it's minor things, but for example, when I watched Henderson the other week, these are small things, and people can say this is bias, you're just looking out for things. But Henderson, ball comes over, he's kind of off his line quick, he's out there and he's getting it away, he's heading it out of his box, and he's getting out very, very quickly off his line. I see De Gea in his net a lot, like very, very far back. For me, I think the keeper should be coming out and should be a massive presence at the back. I do think Dean Henderson is more of a presence personally. That's a difference I see. Off corners, I know people don't think this because Henderson has been slightly shaky, but I do think that Henderson will be better off corners. I've seen, again, sometimes David not be as strong. I know Henderson's had a few mistakes, but personally looking at him, I can see him becoming a stronger keeper. I think Henderson confidence levels are exactly what you need, and I do think he commands his box more. These are small things that I've seen. I've also seen De Gea's save rate from outside the box this season. The last 2 seasons hasn't quite been up to his usual standard. These are very small things, and don't get me wrong, I still think De Gea is a very good keeper, and I would not mind him in net for Manchester United at all. But attributes-wise, I do think I prefer Henderson's attributes as a keeper, and I can see potential in him to get even better than he actually is. And if De Gea is coming towards his career, it's not the end yet because he's a keeper, he's got quite a few years left. But if you're going to have to pick between the two, I'd like to take the risk and go with Henderson and be appreciative of everything De Gea's done and go with him and see if he can do that. If he can't, then that's the risk that you've taken and it's not paid off. But in football, there does have to be risk. Like when De Gea first came to Manchester United, that was a bit of a risk. Everyone, his first few months, everyone was unsure about him. Like, did you see how tiny he was and everything like that? You've got to give keepers, you've got to give keepers a chance. Henderson's not at the level De Gea was when he came in for us and got to that level yet. He's nowhere near, but you've got to at least give him a chance to get there. We're judging them off minute things yet, and I've seen what De Gea's done for the last 2 seasons, and I think it's time to give Henderson a chance because I don't think De Gea is ever going to get back to his prime De Gea levels is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a valid argument to say that you think he's past his best, so he can't get any better than this. He's reached his peak.
This is his peak. And I do think this is no disrespect to him at all, but when he was at his best was when we were, apart from obviously when we win the league and stuff like that, but it was when we were struggling, in like 6th and 5th and them kind of positions. But don't get me wrong, he's still been a massive player for us when everybody else was pretty poor under them seasons. And I do appreciate the work he's put in, and I've got no hate against him whatsoever. Personally, for me, I just think Henderson is a better option for the future, and I see better attributes in him. But it's all about opinion because I know people think the other way, and people think Henderson's going to flop. People do think that, but how can you say that when you've not really seen him that much. Plus, I watched a lot of Sheffield United last year. I know it's not the same thing, but I did see a lot of things in him for potential. But we'll just have to see if I get proved right or wrong.
Exactly. Abub says the only difference between them is that De Gea doesn't bubble wrap the fridge and the couch at the back. And Coop says apparently we have 15% sell-on fee for Sam Johnstone, so could get him cheaper than 20 mil. That is true. We do have a sell-on fee for him. Cole Ferguson says Henderson commands his box and his defenders vocally a lot better than David, but they're both class. Fair comment. David Naheen says, yo, not even football related, but as I got to hop on the live and literally crack my phone. But big up to the guys. I'm happy I got you while on my break. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the Delhi guy as well. Big up to him, always coming through. Just to finish off on the keeper situation, I hear both sides. I just look at it and I just don't look at Dean Henderson as better than David De Gea right now. I just don't see it. I see much of a muchness. I see Dean Henderson is good. He's okay. He's doing his thing. He's going to grow into the role. I think the biggest thing he has over David De Gea is not ability, it's age. But that's why we should invest into him. But you see in that Burnley game, when people say, like you're saying, he comes for his crosses and stuff, sometimes I just feel that
was a fleet.
He's trying a bit too much to do that. But I see what some people are saying. I feel like the back four, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. That
prefer Henderson.
I just get that feeling. I've seen that. I don't know what it is. I just get the feeling.
When you watch it, this is the last thing I'm going to say because we've been talking about it for a while. But when you watch it, my eyes don't deceive me, and I do see Henderson shouting a lot more, and I do see him way off his line compared to what De Gea is. And people are going to say I'm biased on this, I'm biased that. I know that Henderson made a mistake the other week, but how many mistakes has De Gea made in the past? Do you know what I mean? I don't think Henderson's had absolutely a lot of chances to show his best yet. I've still not really seen him do that much. Do you know what I mean? Since he's been in there, but at the same time, when De Gea was in against Roma, I don't know why, but his presence for me just did not feel as big. And then when he did that kick, I know Henderson's done it as well, but I just don't feel
he did do that.
Even with the ball,
feet, David De Gea.
Even at the ball at his feet, David De Gea, I don't feel confident.
I don't look at Dean Henderson and I don't look at Dean Henderson and be like, right, he's Nora with his feet. I don't think that.
I'm not majorly confident with him, but I'm more confident with him than I am with De Gea. If you know what I mean. People
I get you.
It is what it is.
Brad Day says De Gea a better shot stopper and Dean Henderson a better sweeper off his line. David De Gea better when we were smaller, but now we are progressing. We need Dean more.
See, this is what people are saying. How many times has De Gea saved us in the past? That is the past, and you are grateful for that. But you can't just stick with someone because of the past. We've had players that have had to move on. It's what happens in football. It doesn't mean you don't appreciate what they've done for the club at all.
Yeah. And Chris Pankhurst says, sorry, the defence is issue. Put the keeper in difficult position. David De Gea is better. Maybe in a couple of years be different. I'll sell both and buy Donnarumma. I definitely wouldn't do that. But he is saying that he thinks David De Gea is better, and maybe in a couple of years it'll be different. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I think one thing we all can agree on.
I just don't know where De Gea would go.
PSG, maybe. Juventus, maybe Juventus.
Possibly, that's a shout.
Yeah, Madrid obviously got Courtois. I don't think he'll go to Atletico where they got Oblak. I don't think he'll move. Barca still got Ter Stegen. It's tough. I don't know exactly. I don't know where he's going to go. So, I mean, just the last thing on this, could you see a situation where we have both at the beginning of next season still?
I could see that happening, but I don't think it will. I do think the board must be so inept if they let that happen, because the way that they've gone about the business shows that surely there's something lined up for him to be going in the summer. That's what I can see about how they're handling it. And if he doesn't go, I could see it because of how bad our board is at handling transfer business. Yeah. But if he doesn't go, then it's just going to be the same season this year where the press is constantly talking about De Gea, Henderson, and one of them's going to be sat on the bench. And whoever it is going to be sat on the bench. I think it will be De Gea from the start of next season. There's just going to be so much attention around it. And to be honest, I think it just distracts from the whole situation. I'd rather they just be one set keeper and that be it. And I don't think that'll ever be the case if Henderson and De Gea are both at the club. I really don't, because it is, as we say, such a much of a muchness between them both.
Yeah, it is. Lil Yo-Yo says, with our slower centre-backs, it may be more useful to have a sweeper keeper.
This is what I was going to
on the
ask.
counter.
Sorry. Do you think Henderson's got a chance of playing in the Euros for England? Or do you think it'll definitely be Pickford?
Definitely be Pickford for me.
Definitely be Pickford, because I was going to say, if he did end up doing maybe something in the Euros, that'd increase his chance as well if they were both still there.
Yeah.
But personally, I wouldn't go for Pickford, but Gareth Southgate will. So
yeah, exactly. No, I definitely think it's I don't think that, would Henderson even get on the plane? Nick
Pope would probably be in before him, but I do think
he is better than Pickford. I don't rate Pickford at all. But Gareth will go with Pickford.
I think Pope and Henderson are both better than Pickford. Personally, I'd rather have them both in net over Pickford. But but it's like, we know Foden's, for me, better than Sterling, but we know Sterling's going to start. It's one of them with Southgate, isn't it? Yeah,
Southgate's going to do it. Southgate's going to do a Southgate, which is why I don't think Henderson, I don't even think he'll get there. Do they even take 4 keepers, or do they take 3? I think they take 3.
3.
Anyway, yeah. We'll see, but that's Gareth Southgate. You know he ain't, you know what he's doing. Smash a like on the video if you lot are just tuning in, and subscribe if you're new as well. Nearly 5,000 people watching as well, so if we can get up to that, that'll be sick while we're live. Paul Pogba, man. Paul Pogba, a little bit on Paul Pogba. Now, there was from The Athletic, which was reported today, Laurie Whitwell was basically saying that Pogba would be open to staying and potentially signing a new contract at Man United. Hear this bit though. If the contract was good enough and came up to certain standards. Man United haven't actually come to Pogba with a contract offer yet. What's your thoughts on that?
That's one thing I'm slightly surprised I've not even tried to get him on a contract yet. I mean, why would I be surprised? Because you know what? We've said it before and again. We know what the board's like. He'll probably end up running down his deal till next year and go on a free, knowing us. Like, that's probably what will happen. But I'd absolutely love Paul Pogba to sign a new contract. I think he's one of the best players at the club. And he's shown in recent weeks that his attitude has been spot on. And he's really played for the contract that I think he probably does deserve if he gets one. And do you know what it is? I don't mind. I actually don't mind anymore about what he's saying, because I've come to realise what's happening. He wants to go out there and he wants to know that he's going to try and win trophies, because he's got the ability to be in a team that is going to win trophies. If Manchester United are going to provide a long-term plan, which I think they told him when they signed him years ago, that the plan was to go and win trophies and invest all this money. And it never ever happened. We've seen like the players he's been playing with. We've seen the awful transfer business that we've ended up doing. We've won the Europa League and the FA Cup since he's been there. And we've won the Carabao Cup as well. We've not won as much as we wanted to, and definitely not as much as Paul Pogba wanted to. He would have been having in his head Premier League titles,
Carabao Cup and Europa League. That's all he's got.
Yeah, trying to win. He would have had in his head Premier League and trying to win Champions Leagues. That's what he would have had in his head, and he wants Manchester United to commit to that project. That's why Real Madrid's been put into the equation, because I think they're trying to win stuff the way that other teams are that he's possibly going to be linked to. I know that he's been linked to Juventus. For me, I don't see that as an upgrade on Manchester United, but you've got a possibility of winning a title in the Serie A, haven't you? The Premier League's a very hard place to win titles. What he wants is Manchester United to show him a project where he's going to be able to win stuff. This is what I've kind of got round in my head. So if
that's
Manchester United,
that's what he means by those certain standards are.
It also means big wage. I think he'll probably want to be the highest paid player at the club. Let's be honest. He's going to be like 400k a week, this contract, which, to be honest, if you think about it, he probably does deserve to get a big contract. He's been here for 5 or 6 years now, and he's one of the best players, and he plays most games when he's fit. If you do get him up to that wage, does Bruno Fernandes start saying, "Where's my pay increase"? Do you know what I mean? Because they're both
that will happen in due course.
Yeah, they're both very, very important players for us. But if that's what it takes to sign Pogba onto a new contract, that's what I'd be doing. It's not my money; it's the club's money. And I think he has to be in our midfield next season if we are looking to progress the way we want to. I definitely do. We need to keep him and Bruno and improve other areas. And I think Pogba deserves the contract for a start. And I think United need to show him a plan that's going to make him want to sign that contract. First of all, it's the money, because we know the money is very important and he wants to probably be the highest paid player at the club. But the next thing is showing a little bit of ambition. This player is coming, he's like 27, 28. He wants to start winning stuff now. And in Manchester United, that's what you expect. And I think Bruno's along the same lines. They want to be shown something that shows a little bit of ambition. And I hope he does push him to try and sign players.
Well, you look at him with Bruno and Cavani, you see how he links up with them, and you see how he speaks about Bruno, about him basically just being a player who can see beautiful passes, if I remember the quotes right. He's a player who can do everything, etc., etc. And he has he reads the game well. Those are the types of players that Paul Pogba wants to be playing with. That's no disrespect to, Andreas Pereiras and people like that, or Dan James, or whoever it might be, McTominay, Fred, whatever. But Pogba, what we can see is when he links up with the likes of a Cavani, with the likes of Bruno, magic happens. Magic happens. Proper football happens. And it's all about now, like you said, what reassurances is he going to get? Also, though, we have to take into consideration, I think what we can see is Ollie sitting him down, because Ollie's been brilliant with the handling of Paul Pogba, I think.
Yeah, yes.
And I think what we're going to see,
handling certain players,
a lot of stuff.
Definitely.
Exactly. I think what we're going to see is Ollie sort of sit him down and say, look, Paul, we're not going to sell you. You're not for sale. We're not going to sell you unless a bid of 90 or what we want maybe came in. Juventus can't afford that. Real Madrid can't afford that. We need to get rid of David as well, but we're going to be bringing in X, Y, Z. Give us 1 more year. Sign us a contract. 3 years, I think they might give him, and say, do 1 year. If they come in for you at the end of that, at least you still got 2 years left on your contract, so we'll still get a decent price for you. And if you still feel the same by the end of next year and we haven't won the Premier League or the Champions League or whatever it is, then we'll give you a blessing. Like a Ronaldo, kind of give us 1 more year thing, even though Ronaldo achieved a lot more. Yeah,
exactly. It's one of them. You cannot let him go into the final year of his contract.
He can't do that. If that happens, that will just prove exactly why the Glazers are bullshit. And the way the clubs run. It means
honestly,
nothing will change.
Though, I could see it happening. I actually could see it happening. Imagine him leaving again, without getting the money that you want for him. It's just, how much he's worth. This season, he's really boosted his price with the way he's came out and played. I mean, we've always known that he's had that in his locker. But for me, he's played some of his best games in a Manchester United shirt this season. Him and Bruno together, that's when we look like a side that's shown real improvement and can win games of football.
Yeah.
Just Bruno on his own, it's not going to win you anything, because he, as good as he is, he cannot do it all on his own. Pogba on his own, it's the same thing. It's not going to win you anything, which is why when everyone was on his back years ago, you can't just be expected in a Premier League side to do everything on your own, no matter how good you are. I mean, we know the plaudits De Bruyne has got, but have you seen the players he's got around him as well? We know De Bruyne is absolutely incredible, but he's got a better team around him. You need Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba playing together. Yes, giving Pogba a very big contract, he's going to have other players knocking at the door. But to be honest, who else deserves a massive contract this year apart from Bruno, who's going to go with it as well? And possibly Shaw's probably going to get a better contract as well. But at the end of the day, he's one of our best players. And he is, do you know when you have them certain players that are going to win you things? That's Paul Pogba. That's Bruno Fernandes. That's a Marcus Rashford. That's someone like, say if we bought Harry Kane, which won't happen, but they're the names that are going to win you stuff. Yes, it's a team game, but him and Bruno together in that field is a must next season for me, a massive must. And if Manchester United don't get it over the line and he ends up going into his last year without a contract signed, and then we don't sign anyone in summer, that'll just show to me how bad the board are. That is a massive issue. And do you know what that shows as well? We're not going for Premier Leagues. We're not going for Champions League. We're going for top 4 every season. And if we don't get it, then we'll invest the money.
Well, and in January, he can talk to another club. Like what Herrera did. If he goes into his final year, if Pogba goes into his final year and then it gets to January, suicide. He can start saying to Real Madrid, pre-contract sign, mate. Like what Alaba done this year, I'm gone. In the
it would be suicide. And do you know what? That's probably his best option of getting a move if he really does want to go, because he doesn't have to sign a contract whatsoever. He doesn't have to. And do you know what? No club's going to bring in the money that he's worth for him, I don't think, because you've seen the financial situation of a lot of teams, especially the likes of Real Madrid and even Juventus. They're in trouble. They're trying to get Ronaldo off the wages and all of that. What's going on? His best chance of getting a move to his dream club, which is Real Madrid, as we've heard many times over. I mean, Zidane's his inspiration and all that, but he's going on a free. And you know what? If that happened, it would be absolute suicide. But it would sum up the ineptitude of the whole club.
Do you know why
I
don't think that will happen though? There's a reason why there is a strong argument and incompetence as why you could say like that could happen. Because I've thought about this a lot. This club, the way it's run, is capable of letting Paul Pogba going into his final year. But the reason why I don't think it will happen is because one thing we do know about the Glazers is that they're about their money. One thing we do know about the club is they're about protecting, their money. And Paul Pogba is a superstar. Whether you think he's consistent enough or not to warrant that status or whatever you want to say, it doesn't matter what you say. Paul Pogba is a football superstar. He's the face of Adidas. He's very marketable. You want to talk about the haircuts.
He's going to sell you shirts as well.
He is a product. That is what he is. And Man United have that product. There is no way that Joel Glazer, who I read another report today, was saying that he's so very heavily involved in basically the run-ins, and the reason why we didn't sign Sancho last year was because he was talking about the money, and we'll get onto that. But there's no way that Joel Glazer would allow that to happen, because again, that would hurt their back pocket. That would actually hurt their money. Do you know what I mean? So I think out of the sheer greed that the Glazers are, that's why I think they would look after their pounds.
Do you think it's going to be a huge contract for Pogba? It's going to be massive, I think.
Yeah, it'd be the highest paid player, 100%. Along the lines of, Thingy's on 375, David De Gea also, it's got to be minimum that. So it's 375
going to be around 400 grand a week.
Easily. Tomo Duff says, is there any signing out there you feel confident could happen? For me, I think Rice for Lingard is going to happen. Do you think that's going to happen? Or what signing do you think is kind of nailed on? We're going to get onto Sancho in a bit as well.
I've just seen someone say in the comments that Sam Johnstone's better than Dean Henderson. Okay then, but it's one of them. Maybe he'd say Sam Johnstone could get number one next year, whatever it is. But Rice for Lingard, I think it's a possibility. I think Lingard's definitely going to go. I think he's got to go. I think he's driven his price up, which is great, and I hope he does go because he
is he going for Rice though in the other way or just money?
Football. At a club that could do business, he'd go for Rice as well. But at a club that can't, probably just the money. But honestly, we need a CDM badly. It's not been rumoured, though, that we're going for one, which is really worrying me because I think we're very interested in a forward, but now Cavani's signed, that might not happen. We know we're interested in the right wing. We know we're interested in a centre-back. Even backup right-backs have been flown around, but absolutely nothing has been flown around for CDM-wise. But we need one badly. And you know what? When you look around the market for CDMs, there's not as many as you think that are good enough to come into this side and that are definitely going to be you're going to be able to go and get. The problem with going for Declan Rice is it's going to cost you a lot of money, and we know we're not going to spend a lot of money. So I can't see us getting Rice if we are going to go for someone like Sancho, which I do think we might get Sancho. My AirPod's gone out. I do think we might get Sancho this season. I think it's something that the Glazers would do to try and smooth everyone over. It's a marquee sign. It's exciting because he's one of the forward lines, young English talent. We were rumoured to him last year and everyone was distraught and we didn't sign him. So if we get Sancho, don't see Rice happening. If we don't get Sancho, then I could see Rice happening because I don't think we're going to go for a forward now. Cavani's signed. And I think Declan Rice would be a massive signing for us. Yeah, but he's going to.
Don't know. Never know. It does look good. It does. It does. Look,
Fabrizio tweeted about it, so I would say he probably will. But
it does look like it. Yeah.
I think Rice would be a massive signing for us in improving the squad. And you know what? Pay the money. You've got 30 million from Lingard. How much else do you reckon you're going to have to offer? I think a lot of it depends on if West Ham get European football as well.
100%. If they get European football, they'll just say, listen, we'll give you 40 for Lingard. Just give us a player. Like, we want to kick the team on. But if they don't, I think it gives a little bit more bargaining. But I still think it'll be quite difficult to do. Just because I just think their reluctance to sell. And if they do sell,
they're going to
want...
Rice would want to come, to be fair. I think he would to win trophies, but I don't think it's a be-all and end-all for his career.
No, it's not a be-all. There'll be other opportunities for Rice. He doesn't have to move now. I agree with that. But you don't know what happens with these players when they're actually faced with their agent ringing them saying, listen, Man United are on the phone. They want to give you a 5-year deal. You're going to be on 200. You're going to be on £200 a week, like starting every game. Speak with Ollie. You're going to be part of their squad. You're going to be playing next to Paul Pogba, mate. You're going to be playing with Rashford. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes we forget.
I know what you mean.
When I've spoke, you know what I mean? When I spoke to like certain players before and all that, and they say like, and this ain't us saying that we're amazing, but just we still forget. Like, even just big clubs in general, sometimes when they come in for players, not all the time, some players do go, yeah, I'm going to get more wages. I'm playing in a better team. I've got a chance at challenging, potentially, depending if Man United get it right. And sometimes it's too good to turn down. Shane Stewart says David De Gea is still better.
There's not really many other teams in for him anymore as well. Now Tuchel's coming at Chelsea. So it's one of them.
Down. So what would he do? And then he's got to sit with his family. Imagine that conversation. Well, you thought he was potentially going to go Chelsea. Lampard kind of, he left, so that didn't happen. Tuchel went in a different direction. Man United want you. You don't know when you're next going to get an opposition. Maybe Tottenham, maybe another time, but where do you want to go there? So you're right. You don't know what these conversations look like.
Tottenham's like a graveyard at the minute, isn't it?
Exactly. Shane Stewart says David De Gea is still better, in my opinion. Interesting to see if David De Gea will still be as good once the challenge that David De Gea currently presents is no longer there to spur him on. Yeah, that's true. And another super chat here from Deepak says, don't you guys think David De Gea is getting sacrificed so that we can use his wages to give Pogba a massive contract? Well, not just Pogba a massive contract, but it would free up money in general for sure, because we need to kick the squad on. And like, I do agree with what Beth's saying, like, but even though we're going back to the keepers, there's just so much more potential in Dean Henderson, and they've invested into him. So I don't think that he's better than David De Gea. I just feel like the situation and the timing of it probably hasn't helped David De Gea, because it's just probably the right time. Sancho, let's talk a little bit about Jadon Sancho, man, because it's all starting to come out again, and look, it's not only a PR, it's not really from England. There's stuff coming out of Germany as well. But it's basically saying that Man United are expecting to open discussions again in an attempt to negotiate the fee, as the pricing seems more realistic and they know Sancho wants to move. They may also be able to push the boat out a bit more as their transfer plans have altered slightly as well. Dortmund basically saying it's not going to be the 120 million euros anymore. It's more likely going to be 100 to 80 million euros, which is, best part of 70 million pounds, which is a lot less than what it was last year. Not a lot less, but less, a decent amount less. Can you see it?
I can definitely see it. I feel like I would find it weird if Sancho went to anywhere else now. Do you know what I mean? Because we've been rumoured with him so long. We've seen it from Fabrizio himself. He was one step away from moving last summer. And do you know what? We always criticise Manchester United for their transfer business. But if they do get him for a lot cheaper this time coming around, are you really going to question it that much? Yeah, we should have got Sancho. 100% we should have done it. But we've done this season without him. Would he have made us catch up to City? I'm not sure if he would have, him himself. And we've got them players. Last year,
we couldn't just get Sancho and close the gap.
We've got them players such as Tellez, which we needed for a backup left back. We've got Donny to strengthen our midfield. We got Cavani done, which at the time, it was just one of them where we had to sign him, but it's worked out very well. And this year, you go and get Sancho, and you're probably gonna. I saw something that a club could get him for 75 million. That's probably the lowest they'll go. I saw that somewhere, whether that's true or not. But I could see him going for 75 million, especially in the current climate. And with everything that's gone on, I don't think he's going to go for anywhere near 120 anymore. But what I did see is I saw that Tuchel's interested in him as well now for Chelsea, coming in on with all the attacking players they've got. Apparently he's interested because he was at Dortmund previously, and he's looking at Sancho as well. And we know the money Chelsea has, so you don't want to end up getting into a bidding war with them, especially knowing how well they do their business.
They'll just pay the money. They'll just pay the money.
Exactly, they'll just pay the money. Yeah. So I think if we are going to get Sancho, Manchester United are going to have to try and do that deal early. And apparently they've already had everything put in place because it was so close to happening last year. Yeah. So it shouldn't be one of them that takes a while. That what all our transfers usually do. The one thing that I'm worried about is it's a small chance because I don't know if Sancho will play a lot in the Euros anyway, because obviously you've got Foden, you've got Rashford, you've got Sterling, you've got Grealish, you've got all these players, Mount. But imagine if you don't get it done, and then in the Euros, somehow he goes in and ends up lighting it up and being absolutely unreal. And then his price goes up even further. So you don't want to risk that happening either. I think if Manchester United are going to do this deal, which I think is very likely, especially with all these protests and everything going on at the moment, the Glazers are going to want to do something to appease the fans. I think Sancho, especially after Cavani's signed, is looking very, very, very likely. Very likely. And
Let me ask you this. Do we need
signing. Maybe 90% even.
90%. Don't start that again.
Do we need him? I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we do, to be honest. We need a right winger. Our right side is very, very, very lopsided. The only player that can play that position is Greenwood, and you want to be trying to move him to getting him more time in the centre forward role, really. He doesn't want to be a right winger forever at Manchester United. And we've seen Diallo's not really got that much time this season, and he's not going to be first team next season if he's not had anything. He's not going to be chucked straight into the first team playing all these games. So I do think it is something you need. We've seen that the balance isn't right, and people question whether players from the Bundesliga can come and do it in the Premier League. I've seen Sancho play for England, and I've seen him play a lot of times. I think he's got a special talent, and I think having him, Greenwood, Rashford at the club would be unreal to see. And I do think we need him. I think it's a position we need, and I want us to go and get him. And I think it's a very, very likely option. And we know Solskjaer's wanted him for a while as well.
Yeah, that would be solid, actually, when you say Greenwood, Rashford, Sancho.
Yeah.
That is the future.
And then you've also got Martial, you've got Diallo, you've got Cavani. You know what I mean? You've got a
Bruno,
very, very
Pogba. You're really
solid,
starting to build something there, aren't you?
Yeah, you've got a really solid team there. You're starting to get a good amount of squad depth in, because you're going to need it. You really are going to need it. But I don't know if Dan James gets to stay, though, if another winger comes in. That's someone I could see possibly leaving.
Yeah. Kevin Latham says, no new signings apart from Sancho. No clear out of Deadwood. Wasted 85 million on Van der Beek, Telles, Diallo and Pellistri. Only new centre-back will be Phil Jones. The owners will screw the fans again and again.
I don't think it's a waste, the money that we've spent last season. I don't think it was anywhere near the right amount of business we should have done at all for what we did need to improve. But Donny van der Beek is a good signing for us, and he should start getting more game time, hopefully. Now he's getting bits and bits, and hopefully he can try and fight for his place.
But
especially
I think
now
Kevin
Matt
means
is going.
that it's a waste because they're not playing, though. Because they were bought and they're not used. I think that's why
they're not being used, but is Van der Beek, I think next season is the tell-all for Van der Beek. Do you know what I mean? Because he's come from the Dutch league, and you're trying to
But what changes
his
next
way
year?
in.
We're talking about getting Rice, keeping Pogba. Matt has gone, has hardly had a kick this year. What would change? When I think about it, and I hate to be pessimistic, I'm like, you're right, he needs another guy. I'm not saying sell him. I agree. But I'm like, what would actually change for Van der Beek next year? What? I don't know what. Especially if we get Sancho, then you know what's going to happen there. Marcus Rashford's not even guaranteed a place on the left anymore because Pogba's gone there. Greenwood's doing his thing. Bruno's Bruno. McTominay and Fred, he's never going to play there. Where's he ever going to fit in?
I'm hoping if we improve our squad, he's going to try and rotate positions more. Surely he's going to have to. After all the games that we've played, and we're going to be playing Champions League football, Premier League, surely he's going to have to rotate more. Yeah, I mean, you've seen Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and was it Victor Lindelof of the literally most in Europe. Our team plays a lot of football. Surely he's going to have to rotate it a little bit more. Surely. And then obviously no one knew that Shaw was going to have this season this year. And I still think Telles was a good buy because Shaw gets injured. You've got Williams, who hasn't had a kick of a football all season, seems right out of the picture to come in. You need someone at back up left back, especially knowing Luke Shaw's injury record. He's been great for us, and he's first choice 1,000,000%, but you do need that stability. You do need that backup in fullbacks. And you could say the same you need for Wan-Bissaka, but I don't know if that position is going to be looked at because of all the other positions we need. And to be fair, I think out of all the ones we did all the signings we made in the summer, Cavani was the best one, and he was the one that we got on the free, and a lot of people are moaning about. So it's crazy how it works.
Yeah, it is. I think it's interesting to see like Cavani, like his impact when he's fit. It has been unrivaled. That is one thing I did quickly put to bed. I remember that show like it was yesterday when Cavani just signed. Me and Mark were live. He's going off on one. He's saying this is shit. This is terrible. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying, listen, I get we've rushed and panicked. I'm worried about the injuries, but I said he's top quality though. Like he does score goals.
I was watching Mark. I was like, just stop talking because he was saying like all these things about Cavani, and I just knew he was gonna come in and do something because of his quality. People were worried he was going to be kind of the Falcao thing again.
Yeah, but there was a high chance of that. I do get that because the injuries are bad, and he has missed a lot of football this year. He has. He's already done way more than that.
He has, and he has been injured. He has.
Yeah.
But for what he is and what he does provide you with, I think he is a good player to have in our squad that we've got at the moment for sure. We don't have anyone who can head a ball like him. We don't have anyone who's got the maturity of him. He's a winner. He's a leader. We've seen his work rate as well. When he does play, he's a good player to have on that pitch, and he's won things as well. He's got the right mentality and he offers something that nobody else does. And I'm happy that he is going to sign another contract on for us. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. But do you know what? Coming back to the Van der Beek thing, actually, I was just thinking then, next year, if we do improve the squad, and say if we did get a Rice, do you reckon he will rest Bruno and Pogba a bit more? And that's when Van der Beek's going to get used.
Do you know what? I don't know, because even if Paul Pogba signing a new contract, what I'm saying is I don't know how and when Ollie progresses our central midfield area. So obviously the right thing is to buy someone like a Rice, buy the defensive midfielder, and break the partnership of McFred up. Like, it's true though, isn't it? Like it is. I know Ollie has a lot of faith in them because that's what he's got to work with now.
It's the only thing he's got, really.
It's the only thing he's got right now. But if Ollie goes and spends money on a central midfielder or defensive midfielder, which, like you said, there's not really much rumours of that happening right now. It's almost like he's going to get forced to do that. But so then Pogba needs to go in there and play alongside someone else. So McTominay and Fred are both bench players, good squad players to have for the rotation. Do you know what I mean? That's not in your starting lineup. But I can't see Ollie just doing that.
Yeah, but also when that's new CDM is going to have to get rested at some point. They can't play every single game of the season. And that's when McFred comes back in.
100%. And that's fine.
I don't think, and then Donny still doesn't get a kick. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. When's he gonna play? When you deep it.
I don't think Ollie trusts Pogba in that pivot role, to be honest.
But this is what I'm saying. Would he trust him if he changed the player that was there? If he did get, I know we always say Rice, but whoever they choose as this defensive midfielder, would he trust him then? Would he change it then? That's what Possibly. I'm not sure of.
We've seen him play Pogba in the pivot a lot before, and we've seen it at the start of the season, and sometimes it hasn't worked out. And I think Ollie, with the centre halves that we've got and their weaknesses, I don't think they're as bad as people make out, but they definitely could be improved. I just don't think he trusts Pogba there with either McTominay and Fred, like you said, because Matic can't do it every week to play that role. I think, like he came out in the interview, do you remember when he kind of called out Scholes and Hargreaves the other week against Roma? Yeah. And he was like, I'm picking a team for balance. He said it's picking a team for balance. He was saying he's got enough attackers on that pitch to go and win you the game of football, which I do kind of understand. So when you're looking at it from his perspective...
He was proved right in that game.
He was proved right, but he could have been proved wrong. Like, it's one of them in football. When you see us draw in these games against Arsenal, you think, God, you proved wrong. But at the same time, what other options has he got? Then that's when you think about it. There's not any. But if Matic does leave this season, which I think is a possibility, would you think Matic could leave at the end of the season?
Yeah, but only if they got a replacement. Yeah.
But that's the thing, if Matic did leave, then you kind of would have to look at a CDM.
Yeah, you need to replace him.
You've only got McTominay and Fred.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see who goes out, yeah.
In looking at things, actually talking about it, Manchester United, really, they should do a lot of business this summer. Because you kind of need to. Whether they will is a different story.
100%.
But God, we actually do need some kind of...
We need to. Someone said earlier,
look at Wan-Bissaka playing three games a week as well. He needs another right rest.
Brandon
It's
Williams is probably going to have
massive,
to go out
really.
on loan or whatever, or get sold maybe. Exactly. James S says, to finish off, Chelsea's budget for the summer is 300 million. I wouldn't be surprised. And there you go, guys. There's a big Champions League came on. Hopefully City don't win. Come on, Neymar. Come on, Mbappe. Even Di Maria. Just do something, please.
Honestly, please.
But I can't see it. Can you see it?
Last game, to be honest, I could have, but now City have got that foothold, and I think City are just going to go into this game with so much confidence, and I can see City getting to the final. But I've never seen City get dominated like that before in the first half.
But then they just
and then the
switch
second
it
half,
up, and
that's just Pep Guardiola for you, isn't it? It's
100%.
it's madness. And come on Mbappe, come on Neymar, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Listen, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.